Welcome into the Command Center podcast. I'm Logan Paulson, here with Santana Moss with a big chain on today.
Yes.
And Fred Smoot
with a cup of that Joseph.
with a cup of that Joseph.
Yes.
Decaf or caffeinated?
It's caffeinated, and I've wondered, how do you decaffeinate coffee beans?
I don't know. But
Is it a treat that has no
I
caffeine in
don't
it?
think that's how they do it. But, I don't know. We'll have to.
All lies.
If you know how they do it,
tea, so
please
I
leave a
don't
comment. That's always helpful for our distilling what's truth and fiction with
Yes.
Fred.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Halloween was yesterday. What'd you guys do? Did you guys do anything fun?
I did nothing.
I thought you were hyping up Halloween so much.
I love how I went out to parties this weekend, but Father's Tuesday, no, I did nothing. I handed out candy, and I do experiments. I'm a nerd.
Oh my gosh.
So I put like
When you
all
became a nerd, though.
Yeah, I've been a nerd like all my life. I literally put a big basket of candy right there, and then I put on the other side like Funyuns and tater chips and other stuff. I want to see who grabs what.
Oh, so you just
And you would be shocked how many of them went for the chips, and I had the little crackers with the cheese in there, because that's all they was getting from the other houses with candy.
Candy,
So when they seen this
switch
switch
it
up,
up, yeah.
my candy bowl stayed full.
Oh, that
Really?
was dope.
Yeah.
That was dope. I got to try that one.
Yeah, so my candy bowl stayed full while the others got taken.
Do you go out at all or no? Just
Listen,
like I'm saying, do you go to the neighborhood or? Just,
I go with the neighborhood. I walk around, and because people know who you are.
Yeah.
I be handing out football cards sometimes. I'm looking like a jerk half the time.
Just here you go, kid.
Yeah.
What does your son do? Does he go with his boys and?
My son is 18 years
know,
old.
yeah.
He's not kicking it with pops on Halloween.
But I'm saying, what do they do now? Like they go
they probably go. They went hung out at like IHOP. They hung out at IHOP.
Yeah.
And,
Egg people's house.
yeah, egg people have steal people candy bags, stuff like that.
No toilet paper on your tree.
Yeah.
What'd you do, Tana?
I ain't do nothing. I went to the gym. I went to LA Fitness and
for real?
got a nice little lower body.
What's LA
workout
Fitness like on Halloween?
in. It was
Him and
packed.
Frankenstein.
Was
and
it
them.
packed?
It was packed.
Really?
I mean, yeah, people think about their weight more than they think about these candy and these kids, man. I mean, honestly though, man, I was planning on doing something. Every year I say I'm gonna do something on Halloween, and
Like, what does a grown person do on Halloween? Because I got kids.
Dress up and act like
well,
a
I'm not
child.
dressing up. I would probably go to like a lounge or a party, but I knew we had to get our ass up early today. So I'm like, man, I'm not trying
Like,
to go.
are there parties in DC?
Yeah, DC is big on Halloween. When I was in DC Saturday, I was literally driving around. Frankenstein passed me, like riding a scooter. Like, it's just DC is lit apart.
That's cool.
So then you had to go find your old costume so
Yeah.
you can get in where you fit in. So I just went to the party as Fred Smoot.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Man, thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, we do like the bowl of candy out. We leave it out, and I was leaving. Just my kids were getting ready. My daughter wanted to start trick or treating like 5 o'clock yesterday.
You had to tell her calm down.
Yeah, it was like sunny out. I'm like, what are we doing? And so the first people came by our house, and this little neighbor kid we know. I'm like, oh, the bucket's right there. He goes up there, and I just hear them just take the whole thing.
Just dump it in there.
First kid.
And that's why you have to police them. And that's why I give them options.
So I was like, hey man, just put some of that back. He's like, he's like 6. He's like, I don't know.
No, I'm not trying to share this diabetes. I want it all.
All right, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We got to do a little recap of the Philly game, but I think the main thing we got to talk about
Yeah.
is the trade, man.
When did the NFL turn to the NBA
kinda
and trade
felt-
deadline?
yeah, I mean-
like when did this start? Like last year was the biggest.
Yeah, last year was a big deal. This one, it was a little bit more low-key.
Dude, but I still felt like the energy was there. Like it felt like for the first time, like a lot of players didn't know if they was gonna be on their team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which that's kind of NBA-ish.
Yeah.
That ain't really NFL. Like they let you finish out the year before. And I think maybe because they doing the contracts a little different now. They willing to let go of these contracts. And I think the teams that really feel like they got a chance to win the Super Bowl, they putting the pedal to the metal now.
Yeah, no, 100%.
They ain't just waiting back no more.
Yeah, you see that. And I think, let's talk about that. I think with San Francisco, for example, giving up a third-round pick or a compensatory third-round pick, which means they have a compensatory pick
From their coach.
D'Amico Ryans, I
Yes.
believe, and maybe one other player, Jason. I'm not sure exactly
So
who it is.
explain that a little more. Compensatory pick.
All right, they get a pick because of they replacing. If you lose something, they replace it with a pick.
Yeah.
Let's just say if we lost Montez
So
Sweat.
we got a compensatory pick for Brandon Sheriff.
Yeah, we did.
So he goes and he gets paid a certain amount of money by a different team, and he's considered like a cornerstone
That pick
piece.
changed to a higher pick.
So
to a better
no,
pick.
so
No,
what
no.
they do is they have like kind of flux picks at the end of the round, and so you get one of
in
those
the third round.
flux picks.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so we had
I
a-
was just
and-
trying to understand the compensatory part of that pick. Like, okay, you either getting the pick or not.
No, you're gonna get it.
They're
It just-
basically like extra picks that the league allocates, and I think you can get a compensatory third, fourth, fifth, or
fifth,
sixth,
sixth,
maybe
yeah.
seventh even too.
So now think about it. The third round, I have 35 picks in it,
Yeah.
36 picks instead of the 32.
100%. And so that's why this is a little bit weird. I think a lot of fans are maybe upset about it because that compensatory, even though it's a third-round pick, it's a compensatory pick, which means it's one of the last picks of the third round.
Yeah, it's going to be the
So
last
essentially it plays like a fourth round like this. Last year we had two compensatory fourth round picks. And they basically play like fifth round picks.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to get your kind of initial thoughts on that.
Yeah.
And see how you guys felt, because there's a lot of people who are not feeling too positive about it.
What I think that what they're not feeling good about is the fact that he was the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
I think you can't think about that. He was the number 2 pick 4 years ago. And this is what I tell.
Just a little housekeeping note there. They're going to get a couple compensatory picks. One's for the coach, one's for Mike McGlinchey, and then Ray Carthon is the other one. So they're going to have 3 compensatory picks because of coaches and players that have left. Yeah, right, exactly. So here, go ahead.
I think they're just mad because they felt like we put more in than we got back.
I mean, we did.
But guess what? That's the draft. I tell people this all the time.
Yeah.
I don't care if you got the first pick, 10th pick. Ain't no guarantees in the
100%.
draft.
Yeah.
Not one guarantee. And sometimes it ain't the player, it's the place. And when I think about Chase, it makes me go back to when I was coming out. If I would have got drafted by the Saints, my career would have started off rocky too, because I would have been too close to Mississippi, too close to my family, too close to home. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise for this guy to actually reach his peak.
Right.
And it's humbling.
No.
It's humbling to get traded.
Yeah, I think that's a great. And Tanner, you were talking about this a little bit too with your time in New York, and I just wonder if you want to bring some of that to the podcast.
I mean, the thing is that, so I get what the fans are talking about, which is a bunch of hoopla. And sorry, fans.
Hoopla.
I think it's hoopla because I feel like we can't 1 minute be on the fence saying that none of these guys deserve to be here, and then the next minute being mad when they get shipped out.
I'm saying you're not going to pay them.
And then we can't be on the fence to saying that, okay, when the season's over with everybody gone, but then ask the question of why are we doing it now? Look, at the end of the day, things change drastically sometimes. And whatever reason, both of these guys, Sweat and and Chase, was going to be potentially guys that we had to pay
$20+ million each.
one day. And
next year.
And we have other guys on the team that can fill in those spots and go out there and play productively. So when you have that kind of depth and you feel like you can get more for these guys now, you have to make those moves.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, I'd rather see us make moves and get picks than sit here and say we're going to hold on to these guys, and at the end of the year, both of them not going to
get nothing.
Get nothing from them.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of all that, when I look at what transpired with Chase, I think it's great. I think it's great for him because, one, he's a DC guy.
Yeah.
It's tough to play home. I talked about, when I was in Miami as a collegiate ball player, it was tough to be Santana Moss.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was
Can you talk about that a little bit? Like when you say it's tough to be Santana Moss, you got people around you, you got family around you. Like what's going on?
First of all, I was trying to be Santana Moss. I was trying to make that name a household name.
Yeah.
He wasn't there yet. But in order for me to make that name a household name, I experimented. I had time to experiment. I said to myself, I'm going to scrap everything that I'm doing. Partying, girls, whatever it may have been, anything that it was, I was going to scrap it because I wanted to become a household name. I wanted to be that guy on Saturdays that people came to the stadium wearing that number 6 and saying, oh, we finna see a show. And it happened. It worked. And so when I saw my transformation that, okay, damn, when I stopped hanging out, when I stopped doing
Going back to the hood.
Stopped going home, bingo.
Yep.
That was the biggest thing. When I stopped showing my face out, I started just strictly, and I wasn't doing nothing different when I was locally around the campus. I just stayed away from all the things that would say that Tanner was out tonight or Tanner was doing this. I just stayed away from it, and my game risen. So when I look at what Chase had going on here, and I didn't even know half of the stuff that Chase was doing, but just hearing the rumors and the rumblings and just knowing how hard it is and difficult it is to live up to playing here and being a household name already, being a professional, having everything that you can possibly want and need, and still having to go out there and play the game, it was difficult. So I just felt like it was going to be a better move for him, not knowing it was going to happen this soon.
Yeah.
I thought in the future we would see this guy go elsewhere, but being that it was done the other day, I think it's going to be great for his career. And
I think it's going to be beneficial to him. And I think me meeting Tanner in college, the one thing I can give him the way he acts now is how he acted then.
Yeah.
He was very mature for his age. That's why we call him old man.
Yeah, you call me old man.
Because he just had this, all right. But everybody can't self-check themselves.
No, it's true.
Like, think about it.
It's
We're
hard,
talking
man.
about
It's
Santana at 18, 19, 20.
Figuring
We're
it out.
talking about Chase at 24.
Yeah.
All right, so it's hard to say, you know what, and we talking about Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man, I want to, but it ain't gonna work for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to self-identify that, and sometimes people need to take that out of your hand. And I thought it was a burden on Chase being here with family, friends around the corner, like, and expectation played at the Mather. Supposed to be God's gift to defense.
Yeah.
And once you don't live up to that, you're going to have your haters. You're going to have people say, oh, he ain't this, he ain't this. I always felt like he was a good player. I just felt like the person got in the way of the player.
But also, too, with all that extra or added stress of trying to be him or live up to who they expect him to be, it's the team. You know how many expectations it is for the Redskins, for the Commanders to be the Redskins again?
Yeah.
Like to be that one franchise that has
Everybody wants to be a part.
It's hard, and it's so much hoopla going on around this team alone. Then you add that.
Yeah.
It's just too much. So I look at it like, man, it was great for the kid, man. I think it's great for him to get away and go out there and be what all he can be.
Yeah.
But I just think when it comes to what you're hearing, hey, it's other guys. We know in this league all too well that it's the next man up. You know, and the show must go on. So I'm looking for now, regardless of what happened in the trade atmosphere, I'm looking for now for all these guys who played before to now finally get a chance to go out there and be the guys that they once or they was trying to be.
The backup guys.
These guys now finna be the stars. They finna now get that chance to say, hey,
a starter.
it's my show.
Yep.
Let me go out here and see if they can take it from me.
Were y'all shocked that Montez had more value? Like more people was after Montez than they were Chase?
Not really. For me personally, no. I think the reason is like Montez has just been, if you just look at play, just been more consistent. He's been healthier. He's like an established commodity. I think he plays in the context of the defense a little bit better than Chase does. That's just watching film, you know. So I would just say like it makes a lot of sense, and like the fact that he was getting all the calls, and I think that there was like a big pull within the organization to try and keep him. Yeah. But one of the things is you get like a second-round pick from the Bears.
It's really a first-round pick.
That's a first-round pick. I mean, that's going to be like, what is that? Probably the 35th
34th, 35th.
Like that's a huge deal. That pick, that second-round pick, becomes excellent trade value
to go up
in terms of moving around. So I think it doesn't surprise me with Montez. He's just been more consistent. He's been healthier. Yeah. And I think a lot of people value the health of those players quite a bit.
The best ability is availability.
Yeah, and he's just been a super consistent guy, right? So I look at that and I just say that while everything about Montez, I would have thought they would have tried to keep him. I would have thought they would have tried to pay him of the two probably. It's just that what the Bears offered is like it's kind of crazy. And I don't say crazy, but it's like.
No, I understand. It benefited the Bears and it benefited us. But also you were talking about a front four of first rounders that you knew from drafting him, you weren't going to be able to sign them all.
Oh, sign them all, yeah.
So there go the realistic part of this as a GM. Think about it. If they did reach their peak, you still weren't going to be able to play them all. Like you just,
especially if they reach their peak.
Especially as they do. Like I thought when you negotiating, I thought, all right, I think Sweat would be the easier one to negotiate and say, you know, let's find a point. Let me just pay you what I paid to run Payne. Let's call it a day. Yeah. But that's still a lot of money. And now you're talking about having 5 picks, very high picks, and $90 million of cap room. Yeah. Like you can literally reshape this whole roster if you want, but it also allows you to pay the Cam Curls of the world. Yeah. It allows you to keep your nucleus together.
Well, it's going to be a different nucleus than I think maybe a lot of fans identified. But, you know, Cam Curl's a big part of this defense.
Oh, most definitely.
And be able to pay him and, you know, possibly St. Juice in a couple of years, or whoever it is, right? Yeah. Whoever you want to do, or maybe go find someone in free agency that you're looking for.
You'll have your pick of the litter in free agency.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think, like, obviously the Montez one makes more sense to me from an organizational standpoint. I think it makes more sense to fans. I think fans see the Chase thing and they're like a compensatory third round, so basically a fourth round. Is this good value for him?
Well, it's either that or nothing.
Yeah, and let's talk about that a little bit because it's like he could walk at the end of the year. You could pay him, and so like, do you think that is like what would you say to a fan that's like the value's not there?
Calm down,
breathe easy,
and understand when you're trading in a car, with some miles on it, They usually give you what they want to give you at the dealership.
Right.
But you're still going to get your new car because your old car is the down payment on your new car. All right? So our down payment was a fourth round pick.
Yeah.
And what you don't know is what that fourth round pick going to turn to.
You know
Who is going to turn to?
That's what I was going to say, man. I mean, you really don't understand. You don't know what the draft is going to have, there for you around that time. You know what I mean? So you can't really just jump the gun and say, well, it's not going to be nobody valuable at that pick.
Come on, George Pickens,
you know
fourth round.
Yeah.
So
Get him.
that's talent everywhere.
Jones.
That's talent everywhere throughout the draft, and you can't look at it. And then you also got to think about what is the value of that player right now.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not hearing to say that Chase is only a compensatory third round pick.
He just got growing to do.
Value-wise, but if you look at the injury, you don't know what you're really getting. You know what I'm saying? You look at what he went through here as far as the injury and all the things that had to happen to his knee for it to get back to normal.
Yeah.
San Fran don't know what they picking up. You know what I mean? So they have a bunch of I guess you can
Questions.
say hope.
Hope or optimism.
And optimism in what player that's going to be coming to town.
Right now, Chase he was drafted to be more Julius Peppers like.
Yeah.
Right now, he's in the Jadeveon Clowney realm. You remember Clowney, first pick came out, and everybody thought he was going to be
amazing.
God's gift to the pass rushing. Yeah. Well, right now, if you had to slot Chase, who is he? Terrell Suggs, this guy, he's Clowney right now. Yeah. In which Clowney has played some good ball.
Still play good ball, yeah.
But he ain't lived up to the hype of Clowney, and I think that's where Chase at right now.
Yeah, and I think, again, Tanner, you talked about the injury. You talked about the performance a little bit. Like, he's not – I think outside of his rookie year, he's never been overly productive. And I think there were flashes this year where you saw very productive games from a personal standpoint where you're like, oh, he had –
Yeah, and it's still early, too, man.
Yeah,
I mean, who knows what this year would have transpired to be, like when it came to just getting more play on them. Reps is everything. Repetition is key, so – I'm still happy at the end.
But
of it.
him not being the star in San Francisco will benefit him.
Yeah,
him not being the focal point will benefit him. Him with some proven playoff winners will humble him. I just think he's in the right situation to blossom.
So I think the other thing that I hear from fans all the time is that, hey, are we giving up on the season? And
no, we're not.
Part of me is like, I can see why they would say that.
No, I don't, because with them, we were the 31st ranked defense.
Yeah, so but I also look at like the guys that are backing them up. I look at Casey Tuhill, I look at James Smith-Williams, and I think those guys they've been playing good football.
Yeah.
And they play consistent football.
And I don't want to cut you off. I think what the fans are thinking or saying because of them, they look at those guys as not being capable. And they're not really watching football.
Did they watch last year?
Because that goes to show. But that's how the fans are.
Yeah.
One moment we talking about bench, Sam Howell. The next thing we talking about, man, he could be the franchise quarterback. So they're not watching it from the lens we watching it from.
Yeah.
They don't understand that. That's the reason why we built the depth that we built on our defensive line, because if them guys went down like they have before, Tuhill, Smith-Williams Jr., Abada, all those guys have played a significant role on that D-line that has allowed that D-line to be ranked in the top 5 last year.
Yeah.
So that's why I look at it and say, hey, show must go on, regardless of what happened, and now we get to see those guys.
Well, if I give you a nickname, you're good. And I call Casey 2 sacks, and I call James James hyphen. I don't even use his last name. Just James hyphen and 2 sacks. At the end of the day, I have seen enough of them that if I'm the coordinator, I trust them. Yeah. And this is all. That's what being a team and a coach is. Can I trust players to keep me hired?
Yeah,
like that's a
great point.
That's the thing about it. And can I trust those two? Yes, sir. The question is, now that they the starter, what depth do we have behind them?
Yeah,
that's the question.
Absolutely, and I think like kind of to your point, one of the things that I noticed when James and Casey are playing is that they know they're not the guy. Yeah. They know that they're playing second fiddle to Daron Payne and John Allen.
That. You need the dirty work guys.
But I think like when you look at them, John and Daron play better when they're in there because instead of John having to kind of work and kind of figure out where he fits with Chase, it's like he's like, "Hey, Casey, I'm going to do this."
Yeah.
And Casey's like,
"Oh,
okay, yeah, I got you. Yes, Mr. Allen, I'll do it. I'll do that." And I think that allows John.
Yes, Mr. Jonathan.
and sometimes that gives that Casey that's okay to, I guess you can say, commit to someone that you feel that's superior, that alley, and you might get the sack. You might get the
That's
big
exactly
play.
right.
You know what I mean? I've been in those shoes. I've been a guy where the quarterback say do X, Y, Z, and I want to say, nah, coach called this. And guess what? 80 yards later, I'm streaking down the sideline. So sometimes you have to lower yourself,
fall in line,
fall
to get in line.
And you got to play in the
praised.
context of the defense. And I think that's what when they've come in, they fit the run correctly.
Mm-hmm.
They rush in their correct rush lanes, and it's not maybe the most dynamic thing in the whole world, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. It gives Jack some flexibility to call more zone pressures because he feels more comfortable dropping those guys out into coverage.
Yeah.
So it does do some stuff for you that I think long term, like to your point, Fred, like you want guys that are going to play that are going to help you keep your job, and I think you feel confident that both these guys are going to help you do that. But you mentioned the depth. F.A. Obata, we got to talk about him. He had a great year last year. Hasn't played a ton because of the injury, but obviously a guy that's very capable. And you got Andre Jones and KJ Henry. And
we haven't even mentioned him.
And I kind of want to
see Jones. I'm eager to see Jones. I'm eager to see. Everybody want to know is, all right, if you trade away your sack leaders, where your sack coming from. I hate to tell y'all this, but Casey got a lot of sacks.
He's got 5 sacks this year.
Yeah, and he's played 1/4 of the snaps of the other defensive end. So now the question is, how can Coach Del Rio manufacture sacks? Now he's gonna have to bring that pressure. Now he won't have that option of saying my front can just dictate games. He's gonna have to beat people with the pen, right?
Be a little bit more creative, and that's what you saw, like when Chase and Montez were out. Over a period. Montez has been healthy, but when Chase was out, he was a little bit more innovative. They did more stuff to help guys free up. So I'm kind of excited to see what the defense does because historically, and Keim said this on his Twitter page, John Keim, if you guys don't know who John Keim is.
I love Keim.
He went and cited defensive statistics with and without Chase, and the defense was better without him. And again, Chase it's not saying Chase is a bad football player.
No, he's not. He's a great football player. It just was not the place for him.
And change is always good, man. People look at change and look at it as it's bad. Look, at the end of the day right now, we're like that wishing well. We're skipping that rock or throwing that corner there, just hoping, man, that
I used to steal out the wishing well. Just all them corners.
Oh, you just in there with
I'm
your.
I'm stealing wishes everywhere. I'm just in there. I can't wait to go to the casino later, baby.
That's my wish. Oh, my gosh,
Lord
dude. But, yeah, and I think it'd also be interesting to see what they do. You know, like Abdullah Anderson played a little bit of end in Atlanta. Does he get in that rotation as an end, like as a big end? Like, and, again, we don't know anything.
That's the depth we were talking about.
Yeah. But just there's pieces. Big Phil's back now, like John Ridgeway, all that stuff. So they have pieces here. I don't think it needs to be like everyone needs to freak out. But and it doesn't mean the season's over.
And the cover's not bare.
Yeah.
I know we just lost 2 premium pass rushers, but this defense got talent on it, man. All 3 levels got talent on it. Hey, because to me, Ridgeway is a starter. Like, I'm just such a Ridgeway fan.
He's playing well. Like we've done a couple breakdowns on him. He's playing really good football right now.
I love that Ridgeway. Just a dirty hog.
I
love a dirty hog.
Okay, so I think this is the other thing about this is going into next year. I know people don't want to talk. We just talked about how you don't need to worry about this season being over.
It's not over.
But going into next year, they have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds in 2024.
A lot of picks.
How much cap space do they have?
$90 million.
$90 million. And they've got potentially a rookie. They potentially have the quarterback of the future in Sam Howell. We'll see how the rest of the season goes.
On a rookie contract.
Yeah. And so, to me, I look at this from a draft value standpoint. And I'm like, you could pretty much – and the cap space, you can restart your team.
You can re-jump everything. You could come out next year, and if you're talking about premium people at premium spots, offensive line, you can recreate it if you want to.
And they have like next year. Sorry to cut you off, Fred. It's like right now in terms of the draft evaluation process, tackle is going to be one of the premium positions. Quarterback, receiver, all these positions of like really high positional value. There's a ton of guys. You're going to be able to get a good football player.
And then think about it. Who are you losing contract-wise? I think Curtis Samuels is up. I think St. Juice might be up. Cam, you're going to pay him. Like, you still going to have tons of cap space.
It's going to be interesting.
And not a lot of positions to fill.
Yeah. And I think what you're not looking to fill positions, but you're looking probably to upgrade positions and just add to that depth. And I think about some of the best teams I was on, and it was always, you're like, man, we don't have any holes. They go through the draft, they go through free agency, and then they just make these environments that were so competitive. They'd bring in another veteran corner. They'd bring another veteran offensive lineman. You're like, man, that's going to be a dogfight in there. They'd bring in an extra tight end. You're, man, I got to bring my A game or extra receiver, whatever it is. So I think they're just going to have this fantastic opportunity to jumpstart the whole thing.
And that's one of the things that I used to love about this game, man. Like, to bring in the other guys. You know what I mean? Like competition was always key for me. Like
I loved it.
I never watched the draft. I cared less about free agency. All I know, my job was secure. And the only way I could keep it secure by going out there and being ready for
every day.
Did you have this is maybe a little off track. Did you have like a big competition in off season? You were like, man, I really got to bring it this year, or a guy that they brought in. You were like,
you got older.
No, I never had a competition from a player. I don't think ever. Like I never.
Oh, really?
Like you bring in guys, I'm gonna find a way. We gonna work together. Like I'm gonna be one of the guys. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But the only one time I think I had competition as even being on the team was in year probably was 12 or 13. It was 12 going into 2012 season. That was year 12. And I got a call from Mike. Mike said, Tanner, you 210 pounds. If you don't come back in 190 something, you ain't gonna be on the team. Thank you, Coach, for what I needed. I was going through a whole lot off the field, and I was just eating myself to
stress.
I think I just had, and that was 2000. That was going to 2012. The year prior to that, I was 200. I was 205. Yeah. This is crazy. I'm telling you these numbers because I played at 195 and 190.
Yeah.
At 205, after I had my third knee surgery, I basically didn't work out and got big and had some off the field stuff that I was dealing with, and still had 1,100. I had 1,000 yards with 90-something catches. First time I ever caught 90-something passes, and I had, I believe, that year 6 or 7 touchdowns. So mentally, I'm like, man, I'm killing people, and I'm out of shape.
Yeah.
So I care less.
Yeah.
So, but at 2012, I needed that call. Like, I needed it because I feel like that I had been praying, and I'm serious. I do this sometimes. I just like, man, come on, give me a sign.
Yeah.
That I need to do something different.
Ring, hey Tanner, you need to be 195.
You know, I need
this Jesus.
And bro, I came back in. I promise you. I remember spring when I walked in here. Mike said, "Damn, you lost yourself. You lost 2 of you."
Yeah.
I was 190 pounds. Like, I needed that.
Just 20 pounds. Huh?
Yeah, quick.
It's funny when I ask that question, I forget how good you were. I forget like you were like the dude. Every year, I tell you this story. In 2011, I did this charity thing, and there was a couple scouts there. And we were talking afterwards, and the scout, like unsolicited, was like he kind of got this look in his eye, and he goes, "I am trying to replace you every possible second. Because I don't think you're that good at football." And I was just like, whoa.
What? Okay.
And so every year they'd bring in 2 or 3 guys.
And you would outlast
And
them.
I was just like, man, I just got to grind. And so
that's like the words to tell a guy like yourself who's confident and motivated to go out there and do what you do.
Yeah, and so, but I'm just saying, like, I forgot that you were like the dude.
Comfortable in that way.
And for me, it was like they'd bring in, like, when they brought in Vernon Davis, I remember everyone's like, oh, Vernon Davis is over the hill. Like, oh, this is all done. And I remember, like, the first day we were doing, like, routes on air.
Yeah.
And Kirk took, like, a 5-step drop, and he outran the throw.
Yeah.
Wow. From a seam.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just like, well, he's definitely not cooked, so.
But you can honestly say that I've always had to deal with them bringing, as a receiver, you bring in so many receivers anyway.
But I'm saying you never had one that like stressed you is what I'm saying. There was never like, oh, hey, we brought in Julio Jones.
Think about this at DB. My first DB room from drafted at 20 years old was Deion Sanders, Darrell Green, and Champ Bailey.
Yeah.
All right, but then we kept morphing. Then it was just me and Sean.
Yeah.
Then it was me, Sean, Carlos. Then it was me, Sean, Carlos, D. Hall. Then it was like, it was always like, LeRon Landry in the back, Sean Taylor in the back. Like, it was always an all-star cast. That's one position that I think Washington has always coveted, and most of the time always got right, was the cornerback position. So it was always constant threat out there.
You know, that's how it was, too, in college. I think when you came into a college and you, like, basically a walk-on, and you see Jamie German, Magic Benton, Omar Rowe, and Reggie Wayne come in as the top recruit. Darryl Jones is a top recruit, but a dude named Darrell Williams Robert Williams was better.
This is at Miami?
This is at Miami. That was supposed to be better than Reggie and Darryl Jones. All those guys are freshmen with me. Another guy named Andre King, who's 20-something years old.
King was that boy.
He was 27 years old. He was an ex-baseball player.
People,
So when you had all these guys come in, and it just, now it's me.
Yeah.
Like, out of all, got guys there and guys you came in with, and you just like, that's competition.
Yeah.
It makes, if you a baller,
it brings the best out of you.
That's what I'm saying.
You should be you should say, it's time to go. And I swear, I used to always tell myself, I forgot if my dad was the one that said it or a coach. Somebody told me, make sure when you leave the field that day that the coaching staff is saying something about you in a positive way. I tell my kids that to this day. I want to step off the field and they be like, because I used to hear it. Hey, man, y'all, and I wore 48. I told you that in my freshman year, I wore 48. And guys used to be, look, but it was the greatest feeling when they say, hey, who the hell that 48 is?
Yeah.
You see that? And before you know it, before you know it, like now people gravitating to you. Like you just sitting in the locker room, like I'm just trying to make the team, trying to find out who my friends. Yeah. My roommate is a guy that played high school with me, so I know I got him as a friend.
An
but
ally,
I ain't trying to talk to him. I talk to him every day. Yeah. I'm trying to see who else know me. And guys coming in, hey boy, good practice. Hey, 40, good practice. Before you know it, now the coaching staff coming in and say, hey, you can do this. You can do this. Yeah, I got that, coach. And now you out there cutting grass. So I say all that to say this. When I was in the league, man, I cared less about who you brought in because I understood who I am.
Who you were.
I was very sure about myself, and I cared less about the next guy. As long as you gave me an opportunity, I was going to produce.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, I think that's going to lead us to our next segment, and we're going to bring in our producer here.
With
Jason.
a head full of hair.
It's gorgeous hair. We'll have to get it on camera one time just so you can see the hair.
Just his hair. Not his face, just his hair.
So glow.
So, Jason, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Producer Jason will never be in front of the camera.
Oh, bummer. So, yeah, you have a little baby girl.
See the locks.
What'd you dress up for Halloween at?
Well, I didn't do anything. My beautiful wife.
Of course.
did all of it. Yeah, so she was an avocado, our little baby was
avocado.
an avocado.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not taking a Chipotle.
Well, and then my wife was a burrito, like
Chipotle.
and then I was the tinfoil.
There you
So
go.
I like wrapped
You
it
sent us a
like-
picture. It was really cute.
Yeah,
At first,
it
I
was a
didn't
cute
get it.
little
And I was
picture,
like, what's going on here? But then it made sense. So
Yeah. So then we all like we
y'all
all hug
Chipotle
each
for
other.
real.
We were a little-
yeah,
Yeah,
Chipotle
so
for real.
Y'all was
nice.
Y'all was hard at lukewarm. Because it was kind of cold out there.
Well, you said,
So the tinfoil that I had was one of those emergency
yeah,
blankets.
look,
you know?
look kind
Oh,
of.
So
so
it's
it
actually
traveled.
really
Yeah,
warm.
he did.
Yeah, it was great.
Did y'all see old Heineke? He
now that's-
dressed up as a deer,
Deer.
and then his girl dressed up as a headlight.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, deer in the headlight.
I saw that.
That's dope.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a kind of a pretty popular costume.
So those are well thought out costumes. Like
Yeah,
that,
right.
I feel
that's
like
what I would call.
I feel like she came up with that on her own. I didn't see that anywhere else.
Oh
did
yeah,
she?
yeah. Caitlin?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
My wife is very
Like-
she's a former preschool teacher.
Yeah.
So like
Okay.
very resourceful, and she's like, what can we do cheap?
But then I feel
was
like the
like very
Heineke
good.
thing. I feel like that's something you buy at the store because I saw it a couple different
Yeah.
places. Yeah. So okay, so Jason, what's the next segment we got?
Yeah, so we got a little segment here called Haters Gonna Hate.
Haters gonna hate.
And producer Jason's not going to be a part of this. This
All
is
right.
Hater Jason.
Hater Jason.
Well, you know, I used to
Just
go
to
by
be
the name
clear,
of Silky Johnston.
You got your
Hater
hater
this
radar.
is, stuff, this is stuff you've heard from fans and.
Yeah, just there are haters out there.
Yeah.
There are just haters out there.
That's in the world,
I'm
though.
not even going to say there are fans.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say I seen it.
They
Yeah.
didn't.
And I feel the
I
hate.
seen it.
My family
So-
got haters in it.
So
You're a
here,
hater.
here comes some
I got a
hate.
hater radar.
Here comes some hate. You tell me if I'm a real hater here or if there's some validity
Spew
to
it.
this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hater Jason, let's get it.
You know, we lost in these trades. We didn't get enough back. We didn't get anything
You
back.
are a hater.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
hater.
I'm gonna
Dude,
say-
I hate having conversations with people like that because there's like an emotional
Attachment to
And
people
you-
that you know you was gonna lose anyway.
And you could present every piece of factual information.
This is
with
why I
them.
know you're a hater for that one. It's like seeing your ex-girlfriend, knowing you don't really want her, but you see her happy with her new boyfriend, and all of a sudden you want to hate on her.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is right there. Sometimes you got to let go. All right? If you really love somebody, that's what my ex-wife told me. If you really love somebody, you got to let them go.
I mean,
go.
when I hear that, I look at guys who saying that because I'm like, man, you're just not happy. You're a hater, but you're just not happy because you weren't happy with the guys here. And now you're not happy that they gone and what we got and getting back, and we don't even know what we potentially getting back.
Well, I be listening to haters all morning because the sports junkies
Oh,
just hate.
sure.
Oh, they spew hate.
spewing hate. But so I'll say this with the Montez Sweat thing.
Yeah.
that value
Equal value.
is very good for a guy that's not under contract for next year. I think that's the thing. If he was under contract for like 5 years,
No, it's bad
you'd
deal.
be like, that's terrible.
But just think about this though too, and I don't want to cut you off. I say this all the time.
Y'all better say you do it.
because you don't know how to apologize when you cut somebody
I
off.
don't ever
You
get
just go in
nobody
there,
off.
yeah, tell them blah, 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 blah. So I always let you know I don't want to, but I'm
I
doing it.
apologize.
But think about how we got back, how we got into the whole first round to get Montez when he came in.
Yeah.
We got him in very late. So you don't know what's around at that time that's going to be potentially, that's going to be able to help you. He was a valuable pickup in the 26th pick in the
Yeah,
first round?
26.
So it might be a Montez or somebody better around that.
Jalen Carter that fall again.
Bingo.
We see it every year.
That's why I don't get when people go to talking before we can even see what's available.
And
next
I
year.
always tell people, college is remaking another version of us every year.
Yeah.
And it might be stronger, faster,
Better. It's gonna be better.
So at the end of the year, just relax.
Yeah, and so Tanny, you brought this up when we talked earlier. Basically, he was going to you're either going to resign him or he's going to walk at the end of the year.
Walk.
And if he's going to walk for nothing, I'd rather get basically a late first round pick. He's going to be
hard.
a 35th, 36th pick.
That's my creed.
Hard.
Smell blind, right?
Yeah, you are smell blind.
And so that's what I'd say to that fan. I'd be like, or that hater.
Yeah.
Is that while this seems bad, that value for Montez at this moment of this franchise and at this moment of his career and his contract situation,
It's cold.
You can't pass that up.
I say, cut me some slack, Jack. Get out of here.
So, but the one that I think fans might have like they see it on paper.
Yeah.
They say Chase Young, the former second overall
That's what it is,
pick,
poster boy.
It's the name.
Yeah, it's the name.
for a compensatory third-round pick, which is basically a fourth-round pick. Did we get hosed in that deal? And what I would say to them is he's been hurt. His production, while at times has been very high, I'd say has not lived up to expectation.
4 years, he has under 20 sacks.
Right. And again, we all think he's a good player.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
But
perception sometimes outweighs reality.
yes, and
It's not even about that. It's just the potential hasn't really gotten to be anything yet because of the injury.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been on the field. So when you don't have the reps, you can't really see what you really
Who you are.
Yeah, bingo.
And so if I'm a team, if I'm a team trading for Chase, I'm not going to give up anything of significant value because I'm
unsure.
He's been hurt and he's been kind of lukewarm in terms of production.
Yeah.
So that's why that's probably the best they could have gotten. In my opinion, is that kind of range of pick, and I think that's pretty generous by San Francisco.
still looking out for him and sending him away to somewhere where he could potentially be the guy.
He can blossom.
That was like an alley for him.
He can blossom there
see you over
and
here.
possibly win a Super Bowl. But I think people have this view of his rookie year.
Yeah.
And that's all when they see this rookie year, and I hate to bust their bubble on that one. It was a good rookie year, but I've seen better.
Montez, I mean, it was essentially
Montez outperformed him that year sacks wise, but he got the credit.
But because the fumble recovery that he picked up and ran
But
back,
it's also like I was
plays.
talking to Ryan Kerrigan. This was way long time ago, and I was like, how was your rookie year? And he was like, I had 7 sacks, I had 2 fumble recoveries, and it was like almost identical
to the year.
And while Ryan had a very good rookie year, people weren't hyping up the same way.
He wasn't the number 2 pick.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a little bit of that perception that goes into that.
Yeah.
So
You have a perception, and the NFL has a perception of him. The NFL perception was a third round
compensatory pick.
That's just what it was. Because he got shopped. And people said, no, I'm not giving you that. I'd rather have him.
Right, absolutely. All right, so I don't know if that quells your hate.
Yeah, but you are a hater.
Still got hate.
Still got hate.
Hate.
And one of the things, you know what, Sam Howell, he's just not the guy. Too many turnovers, not showing me enough. Yeah. He just isn't it. We got to move on.
I love hater Jason. I love hater Jason.
He's just a hater, but best quarterback we had since Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought that up, though. I'm sorry, Tan, I cut you off.
Go ahead.
That's how we do it. Cut each other off.
So let me just say this. So people say, oh, he's not ready. He's got too many turnovers, whatever. I think back to Kirk Cousins, his rookie year, and they're very similar.
Yeah. Yes.
In terms of production.
Yes.
This guy's going to grow up.
Yeah.
He's gotten better every single week.
Every week.
And he's way more physically talented than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's got to beat Kirk Cousins, but I'm saying having a guy who's very talented, who's got that competitive moxie, he's got that it factor. And he's gotten better every week. And that to me, that's so important. And so when I look at that,
what if I told the fans this is the worst version of him?
Yeah.
This year, it's the worst version of Sam Howell. Well, it can only get better. And what if I shocked you and told you this? Pat Mahomes, God's gift to quarterback, only got 140 more yards than Sam.
Right.
Only got 2 more touchdowns, and their interceptions are right there. So step back, hater,
Yeah.
and let this man graduate.
And so we were going to talk about the Philly game. Like in that game, I mean, he completes his first 7 passes.
Yes.
He looks in total control pretty much the whole game. Obviously, we talked about this on on our production meeting. There's like a 10-play sequence at the 8:30 mark after where he looks a little bit flummoxed.
Yeah.
But he's a young football player.
Very young.
Those things are going to happen. He threw an interception there. He looked a little tight on fourth down, whatever. Missing balls to Terry. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
But also, he's a young football player who threw for 400 yards in a football game against a good
against
defense.
the Eagles.
He's still gathering information. I think when you watch him play, that's why you see every week it's like a new guy out there. Like he goes from having one of his best games, and then the next week he gets something different that he wasn't used to or haven't seen yet, and then he goes back, he regrets a little bit. Then guess what? The next week he goes back to have one even a better game.
Yeah.
He's gathering information on the go, on the fly. So when you see that being done, and you see a guy that can say, okay, this is what I did wrong last week, I'm better that, you have to have hope and respect to say, man, this guy is the guy. You can't really hate that because being young, normally you see young guys melt and be a shell of themselves. They can't
Not
even
this
deal
kid.
with that week to week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dysfunction of not knowing what the defense is going to bring. And he knows they're going to blitz him half the time. So, yeah, I tell
Hey,
take
come
a chill
on,
pill.
hater.
Take a
At
chill
the
pill.
end of the day, I feel like Sam Howell ain't even made it to his bye week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? All right, we ain't. I'm gonna tell you what. When people are not used to stuff, they don't know how to treat it. We are not used to good quarterbacking, so we don't know how to watch it progress.
Well, and I think also to that point, Fred, it's you don't watch people watch this team.
Yeah.
When you watch other games, when you watch other teams, when you study other teams, you
Yeah.
realize that this is good.
Yeah.
This is pretty good.
Desmond Ritter stinks.
Yeah.
You want to know what stinks as a quarterback? That's what stinking quarterback look like.
And so let's do this real quick. Let's talk about confidence meter. Our confidence meter, and just go around the league. And so the one that's fresh in my mind,
Yeah.
because I just watched a lot of them,
Yeah.
is Mac Jones. Would you rather have Mac Jones, a former first-round pick, or Sam Howell? I think this is an easy one.
Sam Howell.
And what's your confidence meter in Mac Jones winning you a game?
5.5.
5.5.
At the end of the day,
This guy's just catching strays.
No. Here go the thing about Matt Jones is he's too emotional, combustible. Like if you watch him, and even Coach Saban said it. He was like, the one thing if I had to tell Mac that we had control when he was at Alabama, we controlled his emotion.
Yeah.
Like when he make a bad play, he whine like a baby. When he make a good play, he's ecstatic.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Sam. Sam is just middle.
Mellow, yeah.
Just I'm unemotional, man. I still got 3/4 of the ball to play. I don't care nothing about that 80-yard bum I just dropped. I still got to go play ball.
Yeah.
So the confidence matter in Mac Jones. His name too regular too.
Is
I'm about to give it a 4.
4? Yeah, I'm not very confident in him right now. I think he had a really good game against the Bills. What was that, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
But he's had some absolute.
Well, you looked at him his first year. Josh McDaniels really was the kind of the puppet master behind him having that Pro Bowl season. So it's all about, too, who you got calling the plays, who you got putting you in position.
Who catching it? Kendrick Bourne
Who
just got
catching it
hurt.
Also, too.
Kendrick Bourne, Parker's hurt there for them too.
Yeah.
But
Nobody.
let's talk about, so there's Tommy DeVito. He's starting in New York.
He has less yards than a dead man.
He had
Don't you know he got negative?
negative 9 yards passing.
What screenplay got stopped in
Hold
the
on.
backfield for
Tommy
you?
DeVito. That sounds fitting for a New Yorker.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
Yeah.
almost
It's like
one
he
of those
work at
movies
Jimmy
I don't
John's.
watch. No, it's like one of those Gambino movies or something. DeVito.
I'm pretty sure that in Goodfellas, Joe Pesci's character's name is Tommy DeVito.
Tommy
Yeah,
DeVito.
no,
That's
is Tommy
right.
DeVito.
I'm pretty sure.
And he also got negative 9 yards passing.
But, there's some bad quarterbacks
That's
out there.
crazy.
I mean, how would you feel if Jordan Love was the quarterback here? Would you
Don't get
trade?
me wrong.
I like Jordan Love.
I like Jordan Love. I do.
Would you take him over Sam Howell?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
It's hard. I don't know.
He young. Sam is younger. I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, but also too, I don't know. I can't answer that.
Is it like a wash for you, kind of, in terms of comp? Because I feel like when I watch Jordan Love, I mean, they're
I
very.
I see plays where he showed you the potential. Then I see plays too where he's kind of still learning and trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So
I think his
Like
head coach
Sam Howell.
get too much props. I'm not sold on him.
LaFleur?
I'm not sold on the floor.
I'm sold on the floor. I think the thing about Green Bay, just to give some context, is they have all of their offensive playmakers outside
young.
of the running back are in their first or second year.
Yeah.
Behind an offensive line that suffered a lot of injuries, so I don't think you can kind of.
And that's why I say you can't really show because especially that offensive line. I think the offensive line is to me the deciding factor when it comes to a lot of quarterbacks.
No, come to offensive players, period. No offensive line. You don't
at
catch no ball or you don't catch no ball.
If you look at Hurts, how much time he sits there and don't flinch.
He holds the ball more than Sam.
Bro, like,
it's
if
crazy.
You put him behind our offensive line and got the pressure.
Dead man.
We'll be looking at Hurts like we look at Sam. Like, you know what I mean? We'll be having those same questions at times. So, to me, I think you can't really, give those guys a good rating or say what it is behind them until they get their true protection or get behind a good team that's going to put them in situations that we can really see them flourish.
All right, Logan, a.k.a. Dewey Cox. What you think about him?
I mean, I think, I really like Jordan Love. I think he's got some ability. I do think there's a little bit of irregularity in game for me. There's something about Sam, like when he's on.
He's on.
He is on.
Yeah.
Man. Like watching him in that Philly game, just how consistent, how poised he is. He can make every single throw. I still think about that Broncos game, the couple of throws he made in that game.
Yeah.
And I just that is.
It's that throw for Chowder to me, the one that over that
shoulder.
shoulder.
That was great, man.
Man, as a cornerback, that's your worst nightmare. I could be in this hip pocket, but that pass, I can't defend it.
Or the ball he threw to Gibson on the rail.
I can't defend it.
Right over the top there, right in the bucket. And so you see enough of those high-level things. And right now, I think the thing that is like the biggest glaring issue with his game is that he takes a lot of sacks. But you've seen that EB, if he calls a good game, or he calls the right game, because he's always calling pretty good games.
Yeah.
Like getting out of that 5-step drop stuff a little bit more. Like he took one sack against Philly.
Yeah.
And absolutely dealed. Late sack. And it was on a 4th and 5 in a loud portion of the stadium.
It came at a terrible time.
So I don't know. I look at that and I'm like, man, there's so much there to be excited about with Sam. And if you're a fan of him, I know this hater over here is doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah, he throwing salt. He got salt in his pocket.
There's enough upside, and I think it's going to get better. And I think that's the thing. Like, there's certain times where, like, you watch a quarterback and you're, like, for example, with Mac Jones, you're like, what is his ceiling? Because you watch him and he does these processes well.
Yeah.
His arm talent's not there, so he has a really hard time pushing the ball to the sideline.
He got to throw people open, and he don't.
And he don't do it, right? And I think with Sam, you see all the physical tools and you see the mental stuff starting to come with it.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, if he can become, and I just think about Kirk early in his career.
Yeah.
Like everyone was hating on Kirk.
Yeah.
But he developed into.
I wasn't hating on him. I love Kirk.
But he developed into one of the better quarterbacks in the league, is what I'd say.
Yeah.
And I think Sam is ahead of that right now.
Yeah.
So
I could dig that.
All right.
Salt kill snails, not players.
So Jason, are we doing this? Are you hating this one, or are we doing this one on our own here? This team can't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a hater right there. Yeah. We can't do it. We can't do it. We're too far behind.
Yeah.
We're giving up pieces. Sam Howell ain't it. We're not getting there. Can't do it.
Well,
I
like his voice.
I love it.
That is a hater's voice right there.
It's fitting the character, you know what I mean? Because, the Jason that I know don't talk like that.
I know.
Yeah. I was just talking to this. I was talking to Sheen, and I said, I kind of talked about just that 2012 season we had, man. We was 3-6 that year.
Yeah.
And found our way in the playoffs. I'm talking about found our way riding high going into the playoffs. So anything is possible, you know what I mean? And now you have an extra game. So you never know what can happen late in the season. But I will also say this. I will understand the little hate behind this one because of who we just, got rid of.
Yeah.
But then you like I said before, you haven't been watching what we have at depth. You haven't been watching this team as a whole. And let them play. I think when you let a team go out there and play, eventually they're going to show you who they are. And I think we have at least 3 to 4 more games. I'm up about 3 games to really say if we're going to be in it or not.
I agree.
You know what I mean? 3 or 4 games.
I think it's one of them things where, all right, let's go realistic. We already 0-3 in the division. Well, we can go 500 in the division.
Yeah.
You can still go 3-3 in the division.
Yeah.
All right, you got some games you can win. All right, you got the New England Patriots ahead. Of course, people going to look and say Miami. It looks unbeatable, but I watch them get beat all the time. Like, it's ways
Seattle.
to make this. Seattle. It's
New York
ways
again.
to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
I tell them all the time, take every season one game at a time, because once we go 1-0 in the season opener, we win in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Then when we're 3-1 after 4 games, get my ticket. Then you lose 2 in a row. We the stinking stink. So you can't go on this emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
What you can do is sit back and enjoy the ride. Because I can say this is the beginning.
Yeah.
This is only the beginning.
Yeah.
And I would say that when you look at this team, and Tan, I think you just brought this up, and I just want to reiterate something there, is when I look at this offense and I see what they did against Philly in both outings, I say that is an offense that can win you some football games, right? So if they can play with that level of consistency, which is going to be tough. Sam Howell's a young player; it's going to be tough to play with that level of consistency and finding different ways to win. You know, can you run the football in some games? Can you throw the football like they did in the Philly games? And then can the defense play a little bit better?
A lot better.
And so, but I'm saying we're talking about in a close game, can they make
the 1 or 2 plays we need?
Right. Yeah. Can they make the 1 or 2 plays we need? And that's something that I would say is going to be, if that happens, which I think is entirely possible. It's entirely possible that happens. Let's say Benjamin St-Juste, let's just take the Philly game because we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
He makes that PBU.
With the one-hand catch.
Yeah, makes PBU with one-hand catch. Yeah. Right? Or they break up that pass to Julio in the end zone.
Yeah.
Right? 2 plays.
The game.
Totally different outcome of the game. Yeah. Or Forbes in that Tampa 2, right?
Say, or Forbes, don't keep running, fading back on that.
And just finish the play at the highest point.
And I think that, then the game is completely different.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you don't need 30 points to score. You just need 28.
Yeah.
And that's a much more reasonable thing. And against some teams with, less efficient quarterback play, I think that's going to be plenty. So can the defense make 5 more plays? And can the offense play with this level of consistency for the rest of the season? Because that's objectively good offense for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah.
And so if they can do that, and I do think we talked about them moving some of these pieces. Jack, when Chase has been out, has been a little bit more
exotic.
And
it's called.
And I think that will be helpful. And we'll see. I'm not saying I don't have any. This is an inside baseball. That's just based on past performance, what I think could happen. So there's a very real possibility that they play better.
Yeah.
They win some games they shouldn't win, and they win the games they should win. And they end up in the playoffs. You know what's interesting? You made me think back to 2010 and 11 with Kyle. And I remember we had obviously Tannis here, but we had Jabbar Gaffney and Stallworth.
Dante.
And guys that were good football players.
But not great.
And, Rex Gross was a quarterback, and I love Rex.
Sexy Rex.
But we were not an extremely talented team. But the way it forced Kyle and that offensive staff to, get in the pen work and say, oh, we can get this. Oh, look at this coverage. We can attack this.
Matchup.
Look at that. Can we get, what if this motion? And it elevated the team because he pushed himself harder. And I think maybe that's what Jack does when Montez or when Chase, he's done that when Chase has been out.
Yep.
And so I think just adding that in. And again, it's not like Casey and James have played bad ball. They played fine ball. So I think it's definitely a possibility to make the playoffs. We understand the hate, but I think there's a world where that is unwarranted, that hate.
Yeah, screw that.
And a lot of hate there on that one,
hey,
Jason.
Listen, sometimes you got to lean on Jesus.
Are you back?
Hater Jason's gone.
Are you back
Jason's back.
All
right, how
this?
you doing, man? You look better.
Look at you, happier, right?
Yeah.
Happier.
Happy and excited.
Well, I think
thanks, guys.
that does it, right, for the show today.
Yeah,
nice.
That's crazy.
All right,
it just flew by.
Make sure you guys tune in on Friday because we're doing a preview pod of the New England Patriots game and talk about a team that's having a tough go.
I hate clam chowder.
And then make sure, Frederick,
yes,
that you have a podcast.
Yes, I do. Get Loud, and I'm always loud. Me and the Jinx, man.
Get Loud. We got the Next Man Up. That's kind of our thing behind, not really football-y, right, in the weeds there.
Letting you know the players.
And then Players Club. Tanner, that's your thing, right?
Yeah, Logan Thomas is.
Oh, dude, Logan Thomas is always fun to talk to.
I'm about to show Logan how to spin that rock, man. I saw him spin it.
You gonna demo that live on the show?
I'm gonna have
Tell old Coach London I said hello.
And then we got this podcast, and then we got our regular show. So make sure if you guys like this kind of content, check out the YouTube page. It's all on there. And like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.